So we're now going to be adding some CSS code to a page so that we can change the basic design of HTML into a more colorful, full of pictures type of thing, where we can move elements from left to right, etc. We can use the box model. Be sure to read up a little bit on the box model. I'll provide additional links and informations. They're also in the reading in the book. We are basically going to be concerned with these three things in padding and margin and the borders when it comes to the box model. Lots of other things, but I think that this is very useful to get a hold of or grasp of right away. The box model is basically what controls the layout of your site by controlling these boxes. And what boxes are we talking about? I thought we had paragraphs and headers and things like that. Well, basically every one of these elements is a box. I've already got my GitHub open. I'm going to take a quick look at what I did on week 1. I'll open this in a new tab. We did have this assignment. Mine is incomplete. Yours should already have all the code in it. But I can travel to it if I can get the selection going. Just tell it go to my site /week1 and it gives me this very basic thing. So like I said, where's the boxes here? We have a header, we have a header 2 probably, we have some paragraphs, we have lists, etc. One way to look at the boxes, besides the content, or rather the code of the content, if I view the page source, you see how everything is separated by using our tags. More importantly though, if we were to do this right click again, and rather than just viewing the page source, we inspected the page. And this is in Google Chrome. Firefox is a very similar tool as well, and Safari and all of the browsers. So now I see the page as it exists on the left side, but on the right I get lots of good information. Like here, I think this is an H1, and sure enough, if I look down the code where the HTML begins, it highlights everything in HTML. It's the full page basically. Then it's got head information, which doesn't have much, so it, other than the title, which is out here, actually we won't be able to see it on the browser. But then if I locate the body has a little bit of an edge here on the margin, and actually the orange part tells me below that there is an 8 pixel margin. See that below on the bottom right box. So at what point do you remember adding any CSS to this page? Probably not, because there is not any CSS. However, the browser automatically puts in a little bit of an edge on the margin so that it's not crowded. But we can change that, and we will at some point. Not on this page, and probably not on the pages we're doing right now, but soon enough we'll be getting into the full CSS mess here. Also importantly, look at the padding. It says that there's nothing there, just dashes, and then it gives us a little bit of information about the area that we're seeing is 515 pixels across and 3,000 pixels going below, down. I'm going to select the H1, see how there is space at the top and at the bottom of the line, even though we didn't add some. That's why later, as you try to make sense of why some columns are not aligning, it's because the browser is putting in all this additional information without our knowledge. Same thing with the paragraphs, even with the list. Where's the list? Right there. See how not only do we have to take into account the space below and above, but also the bullets that are added are beyond our control, at least for now, because we have not instituted any CSS. That all being said, let's move on to week 3, which is where we should be. And just to have it open, I will go to week 3 and navigate to my week 3 page. Tell it to go to there. I could also just type in my website name, which is username.github.io/week03. Be mindful when you're doing these exercises, don't use any spaces on your file names, because something like this would not appear, even though I see it here. It's just an illusion. If it were actually a space that was found there, I would get a %20%, which would lead to problems later. So let's look at the assignment. So our CSS Designer, we will end up with a page that looks a little bit like this. I can right click and open image in new tab to take a look at it. This is an incomplete page in that it's missing something. It's missing an image. So when you're done with it, because I'm only going to do page 1 in these videos, I want you to do page 2 and 3 on your own. When we're all said and done, our page, which is going to start as a very basic page, will actually have a few buttons on the side. It will have these images in the back. This is an image on all its own, the people standing there. The background with the stars and the other people is a separate image. There's also a small star somewhere around here. And there's one additional image. That's the one that's missing from this. This second column, the one on the right, actually has a transparent image that we'll be using that will define the box a little bit better. So I'll close this, go back to the assignment. You're going to need a couple of things open as well. I'm going back to where my page is, and I have my GitHub open. I'll leave that one open. I'll open up my codepen.io, and I'm already signed in. And I will create a new pen because I will be using this to look at what I'm doing as I'm going along. Unfortunately, one disadvantage that we have with CodePen is that we can't see the images, or rather we cannot upload images directly to it. Maybe if we paid for the service, but this is we're doing this on the cheap. We're looking at ads. I'll close that ad. I'm going to move down the JavaScript. There's no JavaScript here. There will be lots of CSS, but for now I'm interested in the HTML because I need to go and copy it from the assignment. The HTML file is going to be one link that you need. The CSS recipe is the other thing that we'll keep open for a while. The images folder is all of the images needed for the file in one zip file. You can also find them individually, one by one, in this bullet list. So I will open up the HTML file. It takes me to GitHub. This is actually a gist that's already out there. It's just all the code that you need. So the page that I showed you earlier, the yellow page, etc., it's this page right here. This just doesn't have any CSS. It already has reference to a styles.css page, which doesn't exist yet. What does that mean? Well, first let's take care of the HTML. I'm going to click on the raw so that it only gives me the code. And I'll right click anywhere here, or actually I just need to click anywhere and press Control A on a PC. If you're in a Mac, Command A, that selects all, and copy. You can right click and copy. You can also press Control C to copy. I'll bring back that information to the HTML that I just created here, and I'll press Control V to paste, and I should see on the right what the page is going to look like. And like I said, it's a boring page, but that's because it doesn't have any CSS. Remember the buttons that I showed you? That's them right here. I don't remember any bullet points because we will get rid of them. The CSS Designer headline was actually moved a little bit to the right, and that's something that we'll do with the margin. And everything else will have some sort of code as we go along. There's some code. There's not a lot of code. This really should only take about 20 to 30 minutes if you sit down and do it. But like I said, I'll show you at least the first page. The first page of what? That would be the first page of the recipe. I'm going to open the recipe. It's just a simple document here. And let me take a look at what I got. I have the first page here, CSS elements for this designer page. The first page will take care of the body element, so that's most of it will be affected right away. Then we're going to start working with the header one at the very top. I'll close this tag right here. And just so that I have a point of reference, I'll move this a little bit to the side here and tell you that this is the H1 at the very top. Everything is in the body as the code shows us. body begins on line 8, and then our header appears. Inside of the header, there's an H1. So these are nested tags that I'm using and we'll be coding. Then there's going to be a selection for an ID. So this is for a bigger part of the design within the body. Then we're going to deal with the navigation. That's where the buttons will come into place. Currently, the navigation is just this list that you see. It's just stacked on top of everything else. So we're going to have to move everything out of the way so that we can fill in some buttons here and end up with a 2-column layout. Toward the end of the page, we will be dealing with the UL tag, the unordered list. And you've already done unordered list and order list for this class. And this is the simple code that will create the buttons. Not a lot of code, and because it's a simple button, and we'll be working with it in the next video. I'm going to stop for now, take a break, and move on to the next part of the design in the next video.